This is Learn from Others, where we interview a cross-section of successful individuals so you can learn from their experiences, achievements, and even their mistakes. We ask 4 questions that will educate and inspire. Greg Stanley will be your guide as we join our guest on a journey from adolescent daydreaming to success in today's world. Join us on this adventure as we learn from others together.
Well, welcome to Learn from Others, where we help others succeed by sharing success. I've got a great guest today. I'd like to introduce Santana Lamb. Santana, how are you doing today?
Hey, doing fine, thanks.
Well, thank you for taking us on your career journey today. But before you tell us what you're actually doing today, if you would, could you tell us, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I think when I was growing up, my idea of a career changed from day to day, just depending on my mood that day or whatever my interests were at the time. So I wanted to be anything from a nurse to a lawyer to like a crime scene analyst to a marine biologist. So it was really just the flavor of the week, right?
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Where did that come from? Was it stuff you saw on television? Was it stuff your parents were doing? Was it stuff your friends were talking about?
Definitely a lot of it was drawn from TV, movies, things like that. But my mom is a CNA, and she has been for as long as I've been alive, so that definitely inspired my original desire to want to be a nurse.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Well, now tell us, what do you do today?
I work for Dell. I am a senior engineer, and what that means is I work on a wide variety of enterprise systems, so things like servers, operating systems you guys probably work with every day, Microsoft, Linux, VMware, for those of you that are dabbling into virtualization already.
Okay, well, that's really cool. So tell us, how did you go from wanting to do a bunch of different things to specifically doing what you do today? Like, what was your career path?
So my career path is a little bit different. I think you'll find that within all of us at Dell. Dell's kind of a place that you just fall into, and you either are expecting to work there or you have never seen yourself working there, whether it's the field or the company, whatever that might be. So I was in the food and beverage industry for 10 plus years before I really started working at Dell. I began working in restaurants when I was really young, and I fell in love with the environment, getting to talk to people from all over the place every day, and just kind of getting to know different people and know different foods and drinks, and I just found that interesting. And then an opportunity arose. My husband actually works for Dell also, and he was so excited when he started working at Dell and would always tell me about it every day, how much he loved his job. And honestly, the food business is it'll wear you out. And so I took a gamble, and I made a complete career change. I went from working with servers in restaurants who delivered food to your table to working with the servers in data centers. So it was a complete world change, but I love it.
Wow, that's pretty funny, working with 2 completely different types of servers. That's pretty
Yes.
cool. So what was the opportunity? Was it just someone was also working there and there was an opportunity to kind of get an entry-level job? Did your current role managing people or in the restaurant industry, did that help you from any aspect of it? Walk us through that.
Yeah, for sure. So my husband was actually the one who started working at Dell first. He started there just under a year before I did, and again, he just told me how much he loved this place, the people, the culture, and everything like that. And I got really interested. And then we made friends through Dell. He did, that I eventually met and talked to about just all of the career opportunities that are available at Dell. So that's kind of when I decided to take a leap of faith and change careers. So I applied for like an entry level. I've really been working for the past few years up to where I'm at right now.
Tell us, what was that entry-level role, just so our students have an idea what that type of role is, and then kind of where it progressed from there?
Yeah, so one of the first places that you can start at, which is very beneficial because you get so much insight to all the different businesses and different technologies, is our call center, which is called triage. Think of it like when you go to the hospital, they triage you. They find out, okay, what's hurting, what was anything hurting before this, or were you okay? So we kind of do that with our systems that come in. We find out what's not working, was it working, where is it located, and find out kind of a severity so that our engineers have a good understanding of the customer's issues. So from there, the calls are routed to their appropriate departments, whether it's software, hardware, and then it just kind of goes from there.
Okay. Now, where did that role progress to?
So from triage, I actually went to a frontline server engineer role, which was called mainstream at the time. We just handled all of the rack and tower servers that ran Microsoft. And then from there, it's honestly been a whirlwind. I worked in an online-only case queue, so I directly interfaced with customers over our support site, where they can create their own tickets and tell us what their problems are, and we correspond over email. Only had to pick up the phone a few times, so that was kind of a nice change of pace. So I decided that I wanted some more experience and focus on one particular technology, which at the time was modular, and those are individual blade servers that go in a big chassis, and they have their own networking, they have their own storage, you can have your own compute nodes in there, you can run any operating system you want to on them. So I learned a lot there about that particular system. And then I changed gears and I went to a leadership role, which is the quality lead group. So what they do is ensure that our customers are getting the best service and support that they could possibly be getting by auditing cases, listening to phone calls, really helping the frontline team any sort of resources with their issues as quickly as possible. So sort of that expediting support and being that that person that's there for customers to kind of voice their concerns with their cases with. There's a lot of other things that go into that as far as you're networking with managers, you're networking with resolution managers, you're networking with senior engineers, really to pull all of the people together that might be needed on a case to get it resolved quickly. From there, I went into a backline support queue. So we would take escalations from frontline, whether they were simple or complex, just depending on what the frontline engineers needed. Sometimes it was something quick, sometimes it was something we'd have to sink a couple hours into. And then shortly after being in that role, I snagged a spot with the senior engineers, and that's what I'm doing today.
Wow, okay. That's a really cool and fairly quick career progression you've had there. And, especially from a industry change like you had, So if you would tell me how much, I guess, computer experience did you have prior or knowledge was needed? I know you said it was an entry level position, but did you find that you were prepared? Did you have to have a lot of training? Did you have to do any additional certification or education prior to taking the role? Kind of walk us through that.
So before Dell, I could make a mean PowerPoint. I knew how to do all the graphics and everything. But other than that, I mean, really, I had no technology experience. Never worked on computers. Used my home computer obviously, and knew how to browse Google and watch YouTube videos. But as far as troubleshooting, I never did it. One of the awesome things about Dell is not just the culture and the people that you'll meet and get to know and make friends with. It's also their investment into their employees. So any kind of training that's needed is available to prepare you for your job, especially when you first hire on. They have new hire training and essentially teach you everything about the business that you need to know for your role. You go through a few weeks of that and get to learn about all the different groups and technologies and issues that you might come across. So they do a really good job about getting you prepared. Even if you're starting from ground zero, they can take anyone that's either beginner, no experience, or, you know what, I have a lot of experience, but you still need to know about Dell, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. At what point did you realize this was the industry, the company for you? Because you had just made a huge transition And it sounds like this one is for you because you progress so well and it seems like you really enjoy it. So was there a particular moment that occurred where you said, you know what, I'm going to make a career here at Dell?
Honestly, it happened really quick. It was during that entry-level job of triage, just getting my eyes open to a whole new industry and a whole new, really just business, right? Because restaurants and tech support, they're a little bit different.
Right,
You have
right.
you have different responsibilities, and I think just knowing that I was working at a place that it makes a difference every day, whether you realize it or not. We rely on technology so much. Our hospitals, our police departments, our firefighters, your social media, your gaming, everything you do every day relies on some sort of technology, and in the background there's always going to be an operating system, server hardware, whether it's in the cloud, wherever it's at, someone
Right.
has to be there to support all of that. So really just knowing that I was there taking calls from people that really needed help because they had critical business situations and, their jobs could be in jeopardy, and I could help them with that, or I could at least get them to the people that could help them with that, right? And that's when I realized, you know what, this is a great company. I love what they stand for. I love their dedication to their customers, and it just kind of went from there.
Wow, that's really cool. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Now, if you would walk us through your typical work day or work week, what is it like?
So right now it's a little bit different because I'm kind of doing two different jobs right now. I'm doing my new job as a senior engineer, and I'm also doing my former job as sort of that first line, backline support. So my day when I get in is any cases that I own, I check on them, see if there's any updates. Of course, checking your email is always one of the things you have to do when you start your day, because you don't want to be behind on getting back to your customers, whether that's frontline engineers or directly with the customers. So it's a lot of email reading. And then if there's no updates on cases, I usually jump in line to take a new case that's coming in and help our frontline engineers with whatever issues they might be facing at the time, whether it's log analysis or a next plan of action for troubleshooting, just kind of being there to be that guiding light, if you will, for our frontline engineers to help them really get the customer's issue resolved quickly. So that's a big part of my day. I also have several different things that I'm involved in as far as different projects, different responsibilities for my previous team. I still help out with a lot of different things. So really from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., it's go time.
Right. Now, you mentioned your cases, so explain that. Are those cases of problems that still need to be researched and rectified and the customers put in contact with the right folks? What exactly are the cases that you might still have assigned to you in the morning?
Yeah, so usually we'll get a case assigned to us. We don't work with the customers directly from the very beginning. Usually we work with our internal frontline team because we're sort of the escalation point. We're who they engage whenever they have an issue they can't quite figure out, or they're having trouble, or they just need a little more guidance. So we're who they come to. When they get to us, they provide us with an explanation of what the issue is, any troubleshooting that might have been done, any logs that might be needed to really get started. And we take all of that, analyze the data, figure out, okay, what's our next step? What do we need to do to get this issue resolved? Sometimes it's getting that frontline engineer kind of on the right path with their troubleshooting by suggesting some other steps that maybe they didn't catch the first time. Sometimes it's looking for issues that have been documented internally, because maybe the issue the customer has, we have several hundred customers having the same issue. So it can really be a combination of different points where your case might be. But at the beginning of the day, it's always check in, see if there's an update, whether it's with your frontline engineer or your customer if you're at that point, and really just getting a pulse on it and seeing where you can best add value.
Right. Okay. Wow. Okay, so that's pretty cool. As a reminder, you can check out all previous episodes at learnfromothers.org. And if you're an educator or a student, you can search for podcasts by career cluster. So, Santana, we learned what you wanted to do when you grew up, which was a lot of different things, and what you actually do today. So, looking back on your career, if you could do things differently, what would you do?
I would say that I would have kept my options more open. I limited myself a little bit as I got older, outgrew the what do you want to be when you grow up stage to when you become an adult. Now you have to find a job, and, you need money to pay your rent, pay for your car, pay for your bills and everything. And I think if I could change something, I would have just kept my mind open as to what I could do instead of what I had to do at the time. So that's definitely something I would have done.
Right. Okay. No, that's great observation. Now let's talk to the student who wants to do what you do. You can, define that as you will. Work at Dell directly in your exact capacity, or just in IT. What advice would you give them? Is there a particular career path they should follow?
I would say get in where you can, right? There's always an opportunity somewhere. People are always looking for good employees. So make yourself known to be that good employee. Do your research. Research the company that you're thinking about going to work for, whether it's Dell, whether it's HP, whoever it might be. Just make sure you know the company. That way you kind of know the environment that you're going into, and you can figure out if it's right for you. Because even if a job's paying a lot, it's worth more to have a good environment to work in and have a healthy work-life balance, which is something that, again, I have to pride Dell on for providing us with. Definitely research the place you're going to work for. Also, don't limit yourself. Go take the big leap, right? I did, and I got into this industry having no background whatsoever, really limited knowledge on computers at the end of the day. The last thing I would say is that timing is key. My whole career path has been about timing because I have spent the right time in my role. I've spent the right amount of time preparing for my next role, and I jumped on opportunities when they were open because that's what I knew what I wanted.
Right. Yeah, that's great advice. So now, do you have any projects you're working on that you would like to share?
I do, actually. I'm really excited to be teaming up with BPA, as you guys all know, again this year to put on a really good competition. It's not really a competition right now. We're doing a little bit of a different format for you guys. We are making sure that you have an opportunity to stay connected with not just with Dell, but with the technology that's out there. You might be familiar if you've gone through the state or the national level conferences where we have different scenarios, but this time we're taking a different approach. We are going to develop content to deliver to you on demand. You'll have access to it for as long as you might need it. And we're really this time we're going to explain to you how to come to the answers that are needed. So instead of giving you a question and saying, hey, what's the answer to this, and expecting you to know it, we're going to give you a question or a situation and walk you through how to learn it if you don't already. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow, that's really great. Okay, so now what's the best way for our students to learn more about you, your company, and BPA? A little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, you can definitely check out Dell.com. There's Dell.com/support. If you already have any of our products, you can go there and learn a ton of information. There's also several different YouTube videos on all of our different technologies. YouTube's always a great place to check in with companies. For me, myself, I can drop my email if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll be happy to answer those. And you can also reach BPA at bpa.org. They have a great site where you can learn some more information if you're interested and not already a part of it, as well as all of their events and upcoming events, which they keep the Dell events listed on whenever we're teaming up with them for the state and national conferences.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thank you for sharing your career journey with us today.
Yeah, of course. It was my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Learn from Others, where we help others succeed by sharing success. Where will our next adventure take us? Subscribe to find out. If you know of someone who has a cool career story or occupation, contact Greg through Instagram at Greg Stanley LFO. That's GregStanley LFO. And we will see you soon as we learn from others together.